Yo, what is up? Welcome to Ninja Geek Games. This is Dice Command, a 2 to 4 player competitive dice war game from Ejected Planet. You'll need to use cunning, tactics and a little bit of luck to build and advance your army to gain strategic battlefield positions and outwit the enemy. You take on the role, pun intended, of a military general, and at the beginning of the game you'll have a small pool of die that represent your units. You'll use your units to carry out actions such as deploy into battle, advance on the enemy, as well as being able to acquire assets to fund and expand your army and research developments to upgrade those actions. Now the aim of the game is to be the first player to move a specific number of units behind enemy lines, in which case you are victorious. Let's have a look at the gameplay overview. So the first thing you'll notice is how much content fits in this box. We have 2 double-sided game boards, 41 die, over 60 cards and tiles, plus a load of tokens, and my favourite, these awesome containers that double up as barracks to roll and keep your units, as well as storage of game components within the main box. There is also this amazing first player token, which represents a metal dog tag. The second thing you'll notice is the component quality, which is awesome, but I'll discuss that later. During the game, each player's turn consists of carrying out 6 phases that must be resolved in order. This includes the use of any start of turn abilities, rolling all of your units in the barracks, and then assigning these units and any credits and research tokens to your headquarters and tactical advantage cards. You'll need to resolve those actions, advance on the battlefield that may cause an engagement, and a refresh that ends your turn. And players just keep rolling out these phases. Let's take a look at these actions more closely. So here we're set up for a 2-player game. If using more players, there's an additional board that is double-sided. Each player gets a barrack with 5 die of one colour, plus reserve units, and a command centre consisting of 4 cards that include financing, conscription, research and development, and headquarters. And here are where you place your die and token during your turn to carry out actions. These are the tactical advantage cards that give players advantage with their tactics, and represent a kind of shared additional action that players can take throughout the game, although these are replenished, you'll need to use them quickly. At the beginning of the game, each player gets 2 random facility tiles, where they'll each choose one to be in play for the whole game. If any players occupy these strategic areas on the board, they'll gain access to the effects on these tiles. The board is split into many squares, where die can be deployed and moved around during the game. At each end of the board, a player has a front line, where units can be deployed, plus an area deemed behind enemy lines, and then a central zone. The tokens that are used in the game include credits and research tokens that are used to pay for some actions, as well as sabotage and mines that can be used to hinder the enemy. At the start of the round, you'll need to roll your pool of units, and then decide on which action spaces within your command centre or tactical advantage cards you'll want to place your units and tokens. Now, any square spaces require a dice of any value, although some upgraded command centre cards, as well as tactical advantage cards, require die units of a minimum value or a specific value. Action spaces on the headquarters command centre card allow you to deploy and advance units. To deploy, you place your die onto the board without changing its face value. And there are some really cool mechanics here. Firstly, the face value of any unit is its strength. And secondly, you cannot deploy a unit whose face value is the same as another unit already on the battlefield. When placing units, they can be placed on any empty area on your front line, or behind one of your units anywhere on the board. Now, the strength of the unit also dictates its infantry type, where 1 to 3 is light infantry and 4 to 6 heavy infantry. Now, if you are able to place 2 die of the same value on your deploy action space, this becomes an armoured division, meaning its strength is the value of combined die, but it can only be deployed on the front line. Now, I'll talk about the advance action a bit later on, as well as being carried out as a phase within a round. Now, the conscription action requires credits, and when placing your credits here, it allows you to gain units straight from your reserve into your barracks, where financing allows you to gain those credits back. Lastly, placing units on the empty spaces in research and development allows you to gain research tokens, and spending these allows you to upgrade your cards within your command centre, and these have more powerful effects. Now, whether advancing due to the headquarters action or the advance phase within a round, you get to move your units on the battlefield. Now, units can move forward both in a straight line and diagonally, but if they're on their own front line, they're also able to move laterally. and no unit can move backwards unless a card effect permits them to do so. Light infantry can move 2 spaces, but heavy and armoured units can only move 1, and if you advance onto an enemy, an engagement takes place. Pew pew pew! And here the winner is simply the unit with the highest strength, with the other unit being destroyed and sent back to the player's reserves. However, the winning unit's strength is then reduced by the strength value of the unit it destroyed. But there are exceptions to this rule. If light infantry is destroyed by an armoured unit, they have no effect on the armoured division's strength. Their puny guns are unable to penetrate the armour. Importantly, if any unit occupies these symbols within the centre of the battlefield, they are able to control and use the effect of the respective facility card. And this is a really important strategic part of the game. Also, if you're able to sneak past the enemies to the last space on the enemy side, you've managed to infiltrate behind enemy lines, where your unit will stay there for the remainder of the game. Now the game continues until one player is able to advance a specific number of units behind the enemy lines. This game is a lot of fun. It requires strategic thinking, careful consideration of actions and when to upgrade. You need to build up your army, deploy and upgrade your headquarters in order to be successful. At any one time, there are 3 tactical advantage cards that can be used when assigning units that can provide unique effects, but once used they are discarded and replaced, meaning that if you delay, you could give the advantage to the enemy. Field position is also very important. Infantry can be placed adjacent to previously deployed units that represents them parachuting into battle. This is important for control of the centre of the board to gain access to the facility tiles and their bonuses. Any units you manage to advance behind the enemy lines remain there for the remainder of the game, reducing the number of possible units that you can have. I like how expendable the light infantry units are, but they can move quickly around the board. On the other hand, the armoured divisions represent a solid unit that can withstand a lot of damage, but are slow moving and need to be positioned with care. Engagement is quick and simple, and there's little downtime between turns. The upgraded headquarter cards are awesome that allow you to place mines to funnel the enemy, or place sabotage tokens to make the enemy actions more costly. The research and development action has an area for atomic warfare where you can deploy units directly behind the enemy lines, but this is very costly. I've only shown the 2-player setup, but Dice Command also allows 3 and 4 player free-for-all games for an ultimate competitive battle. This takes place on a bigger board that can also use a reverse side. You can team up for 2-on-2 alliance battles where there are shared alliance cards, additional facility tiles and cooperative tactical gameplay. There is also secret mission cards that give each player asymmetric abilities for the game, which is a nice touch. Dice Command is a big game in a small box. It's fast paced, engaging with some great mechanics linked around strategic field position. Whether you play 2-player, free-for-all or alliance, this game offers a great experience detailing military actions in an awesome skirmish. Lastly, the components of this game are fantastic, very well detailed and some of the nicest I've seen in a small box game. I think Ejected Planet have done a great job of providing a slick game with high replay value. This is Ninja Geek Games. Cheers.